Richard Learmonth, it is always a pleasure to engage you.
Hey, Chris.
So I'm at the
Pleasure's
lake. I
mine.
see you're at the beach, huh?
Yeah, yeah, I love these bodies of water. Yeah.
So let's accelerate. So we've been talking about some concepts around society and optimization, societal awareness and optimization of how we as human beings operate in society. In the context of a pandemic, in the context of a social dilemma, in the context of an election, in the context of being divided. And we talk about taking responsibility for our awareness and consciousness by understanding and acknowledging where we are, being grateful for it, and then reflecting on our pathologies and what might be holding us back. What are your thoughts in this context as before we go deeper into it?
I mean, I think it's all really great, great topics. Great, everything that you're saying is definitely valid for today's living, today's life. It's important things that we need to pay attention to. Um, yeah, if your question is a little bit more pointed and more direct, I think I'll be able to respond with a little bit more direction. But all of the things that you mentioned that what we've been broaching is definitely right on, and I love these topics in general.
And I think just to kind of play off this as we go back and forth on this is there's a big buzz around emotional intelligence these days. It's such a buzz, it's such a cliche anymore. I mean, it's a concept that's been around for a while. And I know Daniel Goleman wrote a book, Emotional Intelligence, and of course, Working with Emotional Intelligence, really good books. And it talks about understanding who we are and why we are and how our emotions can run us. And I think from my perspective, one of the keys is to back to the baseline, back to the condition and put ourselves into a place where we're full of resources, in essence, resourceful, right? And able to manage our emotions most effectively, right? Which is, I know, one of the
Mhm.
things that you do in your by design process is allowing people to make distinctions on who they are, why they are, and how they can manage themselves in their lives better, right?
Mhm. Mhm. That's a really big topic, and we can start on it today, but it goes far wide and deep. And just to get started with it, we live in an emotional world. It's definitely it's an emo it's like it's a wavy thing that's going on here. There's always waves of emotions moving through any given day, of our lives, and always has been. And so we're always in this up and down sort of flow. One day we feel great, next day it's like from hope to despair, falling in love, falling out of love, all of these things. It's just part of the life. And but in particular, our species itself, this human development, of our evolutionary development. We're coming from Neanderthals, or early man, who were basically very instinctual, instinctive. That's what their intelligence, the level of their intelligence was their instinct. Like animals. Like the animals. Dogs and cats, and they're very instinctive. And the next evolution of man, we developed this other awareness system, which was our mental awareness, which gave us the ability to dominate the planet and be top of the food chain. And we've arrived at that place, and we can see now, yes, we've developed this mind and all these incredible things that we've developed in the world, in the illusion, what we've created. And to such an extent that we're on the brink of blowing each other up, you know. And now we're moving into a new phase of our evolutionary process. We're coming into this thing, and it is said like within the next 7 years, we're entering into this domain of the or realm of emotionality, where we're finding now, the connection, the sensing of emotional intelligence, emotional awareness, which will be dominating the field, the conscious field, this new level of this new layer of intelligence, which is all about emotion, emotional intelligence, emotional awareness. You know, that's what's coming into play, and so we're feeling it, and it's pretty potent. It's also the new kids coming in our future. They're coming in already hardwired with this particular sensitivity or ability, intelligence. You know, there are those of us who have it, yes, but they're, you know, but we're still coming from the old strategic mental thinking of how we connect and how we do things. And we're moving into more of a emotional, receptive kind of connected way of how we engage and how we communicate and deal with each other. So I mean, I like to look at it from that, you know, from that perspective. And so there has to be some sort of a balance in terms of how we will be a way for us to uh, to communicate and integrate. And then it really goes back to learning how to live your design, basically. You know, how to dance in that realm, how to play, how to thrive in that new realm. It's it requires a new learning, a new education on how to do this. And so there are a lot of people who are going to really suffer from not knowing. And but we're here to show them. You know, we're here to to ring that bell and bring this new way.
Right. So just to back you up, I mean, we all, you know, we all come from a place of emotional conditioning, you know, and each of us is responsible for the awareness, the acceptance, and the management of our unique emotional states, and have the discipline to understand them and adjust to them, or basically adjust them, you know, toward the state that we each choose is best for us, right? So it's taking responsibility for understanding our emotions and leveraging, listening to them, and being able to condition them so they show up for our best effectiveness, right? And it's important, of course, to allow ourselves to feel the emotions that we're feeling, respecting the message that they're sending us, lest, you know, lest our emotions get the best of us, and we potentially could lose our bearing, our self-control, and our professional competence. So listening to the emotions, be aware of them, and not let them potentially spiral you into a place of maybe a negative emotion or maybe too much of a positive emotion, right? So I think the key is to get to know your emotions, allow them to show how how to translate and understand the true meaning and essence of messages, you know, that are either communicated or received, right? And then don't stuff the emotions either, right? Feel them, understand them, and work with them. And then, frankly, back to you, what your sweet spot, your specialty, Richard, is understand how you're wired. You know,
Mm-hmm.
delving into family of origin situations potentially, and determine how you were conditioned to think the way that you do, or even, you know, when you were born, and, you know, the condition that you're in based on the situation that you're in from the day you were born, right? So with this awareness, we can then accept and shift our mindset and our heart set, and being able to manage our psychopathologies more effectively. How's that sound?
Okay. Okay. It's a yeah. Well, I'll go with it. Yeah. I mean, how we navigate it. In other words, you know, how we navigate emotions. We started off with that with the conversation about emotions, and so yes, and I was saying, you know, there's emotions everywhere. It's where we're living in an emotional field, and so when we step into the field with someone who might be, let's say, more emotional defined, like they're really acting out their emotions, and you know, and you know, I may not be that kind of person, you know, and when I'm in that field, you know, and I'm taking in that kind of information, it can be very uncomfortable. It can, you know, really cause me to react or so. And so what do I do? You know, I learn how to really trust my own, you know, empowerment, that thing within inside of me that's consistent, that I know that, hmm, based on this thing that I'm feeling, that I know how I'm here to operate, I can I can really be the observer of that, and really help, you know, what's the word that I'm seeking, to not get sucked into that, you know, not get pulled into and identify with it as if it's mine. You know, it's not mine. It's often the other person that's being projected. And so how do I manage that? Well, this is what this body of work really teaches and shows, you know, in terms of how to, you know, how to deal with it, how to, like, mechanically, how to physically and mechanically, you know, work through those things and not be affected. Or you'll be affected, but how to navigate through it.
Right. And ultimately take responsibility, which in this
Hmm.
context is the ability to respond, right?
To respond, yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Okay, good. So always a pleasure to listen to you and I always walk away from these discussions more enlightened, right? Which is, I think, is our intention. I hope it
Well,
is.
that's our intention, yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Till
See you
next
next
time.
time.